Welcome everyone to another Moya Talks. We're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and we have a special guest, Natalia Rosa. She's joining us from Puerto Rico. Welcome, Natalia.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me here today. It's exciting, my first podcast ever.
Natalia, will we start by giving our guests a little bit of your background, and so they can have a general picture of your career and your background?
Of course. I live in Puerto Rico, where I was born and raised, and currently I work as an art director for the film industry here, mostly doing shows that come from the USA to shoot here in the island. Um, I have a bachelor's degree in environmental design from the School of Architecture of the University of Puerto Rico. That's where I met Mari Laura, my beloved friend. And I got a master's degree in architecture in Savannah College uh, of Art and Design.
And how do you
Um,
decide on architecture?
well, I have to say that my mom was the one to actually tell me about architecture. When I was close to apply for colleges, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew it had to be something related to the arts. And one day she was like, "Hey, why don't you study architecture?" And in that moment, I really didn't know what was to study architecture. I did my research and I loved it, so I went to it. um, so basically, my mom was the one to uh, kind of push me into that direction. Um, and also, uh, unconsciously, I think she was also the one to uh, bring me into what is film. My mom, she is a costume designer. She works also for the same film industry here in Puerto Rico. She has 30 years of experience in this industry in the wardrobe department. And I have to say that part of me ending up working on this industry, it was because many times after school, I will spend uh, doing my homework on a set, watching her working behind the cameras and watching all her colleagues in that time making a film happen.
That sounds
Um,
nice.
yes,
So you're working now as a set designer. You came back from Savannah to Puerto Rico, and you started working in film. Could you tell us what a set designer does?
yes, I began in this industry 11 years ago, exactly after I graduated from my master's. Um, Actually, right now, I am working as an art director, but I started my career in the art department as a set designer. Um, I do many things. I still do a lot of set design while being an art director, but I will have someone doing the set design now for the shows that I will work for. I will then supervise that set designer. But basically, what a set designer needs to do is translate into a set of construction drawings the visual concept or the design proposal of a production designer. And also, um, they will go on locations and existing locations and make surveys of these locations and put this on plans also, so you can create another set of plans that are called the director's plans, and these plans are the ones showing furniture layout are and not necessarily a lot of detail on finishes and dimensions, but so that the directors and the all other departments of this production can understand how to move on the space that we are building and the sets that we build and that we create
I,
based on
I read you describe this as ephemeral architecture.
yes, exactly. Exactly that. um, I remember when I was in college, um, being interested in ephemeral architecture. I actually thought that I will go to Barcelona to study this, but that didn't happen. And but at the end, that's what I'm doing right now. Like we build all these sets that need to look real, and but they're made of plywood, and maybe you'll see like it looks like concrete, but at the end it's a plywood that we the cynics department will give the texture so it looks like concrete, and like at the end we all strike all these sets apart. So yes, it's very ephemeral, and that's what I like about it. It's constantly building stuff for these different projects and shows based on what's scripted and based on the vision of the director, and and yeah, making a physical space for what was scripted.
You work with Dan Bishop, Mad Men's production designer. What did you learn
Yes.
from him?
That was a great experience. Actually, that was my first gig on the art department, because I haven't said that actually when I started on this industry, I started on the wardrobe department, and I worked there for like 2 to 3 years before I got into the art department. And I started being a PA in this project. It was very short. We were doing a pilot for a TV show. This pilot never came up, but it was a period piece on the 70s. And yeah, it was a dream working with him. I actually didn't know when I got the interview, because I got interviewed by the art director, that I was going to work with Dan Bishop, until he mentioned like, yeah, so our production designer is the one from Mad Men. And in that moment, that was my favorite show that I was watching. I was amazed that I was going to have that opportunity. And at the end, I ended up being bumped to being a set designer, because at the end I was surveying existing locations that we were going to shoot in, and I had to design a closet with some shelves to close an open area on an existing location. And uh, yes, I learned a lot from him, even though this was a very short show. He's a very experienced person in this field, and he showed me that you can maintain a calm environment in what can be a very stressful show. And also his way of choosing colors on the locations, like he will be walking around a location in silence, of very observant of what was happening inside the space and how light will come in, and he will take his fan of Benjamin colors and start opening them and trying colors, and And he had this specific way of um, pointing out what colors he wanted in which wall. And he will have blue tape on his wrist, and he will take a piece of that tape and paste it on the wall, and just put the color coding of what he wanted to be.
Wow,
Yeah.
super creative process. Is there a director or a show you would like to work on?
So definitely yes. I mostly think that I would love to work for like a renowned production designer like Adam Stockhausen, which is the production designer of Wes Anderson movies, like The Grand Budapest Hotel, Life Aquatic, The French Dispatch. Like he does this amazing work. It's so specific in color schemes that are chosen, uh, on how all these spaces relate and define each characters. Um, and yes, like a show of Wes Anderson will be a dream.
I saw Noor face lighting up because she adores Wes Anderson. I have a few fans here.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you well. What you say
You
there?
have a few Wes Anderson fans in the staff,
Oh
the
yes,
greatest of which is Noor.
yes. It's always like so distinctive his work, and yeah, it evokes a lot of feelings and wanting you to design everything very specific.
What is more difficult, a period show like Mad Men or something more contemporary like Mad Dogs?
Hmm. Um, I have to say that uh, for a period time piece, it might be more difficult in the terms that maybe it's a very late period piece that you need to represent, and maybe you don't have exact visual references that you could find easily to recreate those environments. But at the same time, uh, I feel it's more fun because you can find references, but if you don't know exactly how things were done in that period of time, you can come up with whatever you want and make it work. Um, versus doing a show like Mad Dogs that's more contemporary. You're living in the time, so you know how things work, how things should look like. And so I guess it makes it more easier in that sense.
And what happens in a show like Mad Dogs, which is an action thriller, you see one of your sets being destroyed?
um, you know what? Let me uh, bring this the other way. On Mad Dogs, I wasn't that involved in all these sets. I was mostly doing just the plans that of the designs I was given. Um, but being actually one of the first projects that I worked for the art department, yeah, it was a shame. Like I always think of all these sets that get destroyed, and we threw many of this material that at the end you cannot use it, even though it's like you see it and it looks new like a plywood, but you cannot reuse it maybe because it was plastered and painted in a certain way. And yeah, but mostly it's painful when you have done like a whole set on a studio, very specific period, and you have given all your attention to details, and you have worked so hard so it looks exactly what you want it to look on a camera. And yeah, it sometimes it's sad to see them gone.
What are you currently working
So I have to say right now, I'm on vacations of the film industry. I am trying to actually start working on this free time as a realtor. I recently got my license in
Congrats.
yes, thank you. So for these times of free film industry periods, like I'll have something else to do where I can incorporate some of my knowledge in architecture and design. Um, but I have to say, I was like for 6 months, uh, uh, and 6 months doing a project. One of the latest projects I did is the resort. It's right now streaming on NBC and Peacock, and it we had a 3 months of pre-production for that show. Is what it was very challenging. I started there as an assistant art director, and then it, we, me and another assistant director, we got bumped up as art directors because it was a lot of work. Um, then it was like four months of shooting, and after that, I did without taking any free time, like a 3 months project. That was the last one. It's a feature film for DC Comics. It's called Blue Beetle. And
Oh,
yes, Blue Beetle, it's the first Latin superhero. And I was very excited with that project because it was directed by a Puerto Rican director that I have knew many years ago, Angel Manuel Soto, and it was like an honor to be working in that project that was finishing its shooting here in the island and with a Puerto Rican director.
excellent, excellent. That's coming this year, right? Later.
Yeah, it's right now in post production. It's supposed to get out 2023.
Cool. One last question, Natalia, and then I will open the floor so the audience can ask you a
Okay.
couple of questions more. How
Mhm.
is it working in the same industry as your mother worked? What stories do you have to share now that you know the industry as her?
Well, I have to say that it's crazy how I ended up working in the same industry as my mom. I worked when I worked in the wardrobe department. I worked directly with her sometimes, and I will have to make sure that I don't call her mom while I was working with her, and that I had to make sure that I worked the hardest so that the other uh, colleagues won't feel like I was having special treatment. And so we have maintained, when we share projects, a very professional relationship in that sense. And now that I'm in the art department, I don't get to see my mom that often because I'm always weeks ahead of when the
Her schedule.
shooting is happening, and she's mostly on set. And so when we get to have a weekend together, we might tell each other stories. She will tell me what happened on set, and I will tell her the difficulties that we might have, uh, might be having while we build any specific set or yeah.
Excellent. Natalia, I'm going to open the floor. I know some
Yes.
people may have some questions for you.
Go ahead. No,
Everybody's waiting for Noor to ask her question.
I'm very like this is my dream job, so I have a lot of questions, but I'm gonna try to minimize it. My first question is, so how does the process work? With the director would come with a vision about what this shot's gonna be. You guys read the story, and you guys would provide designs for the set or ideas for how the set would look like.
so yes, you synthesize it very well. So it all begins with the production designer starting in from the very beginning of the pre-production alongside the director and producers and maybe the showrunners or writer. And the production designer, which is the head of the art department, um, will choose like this what the perfect location to shoot might be uh, based on the director's vision and also on what is scripted and and other than that visual aspect and concepts and making it happen through the design proposals and the construction of the sets, it all has also to be within the producer's plan. And yes, the art department, the production designer will propose these designs of these sets using visual illustrators, using 3D models of the sets that we might build, color schemes, and but basically it's based all on what he has talked through with director and writers. And yes, we do breakdowns of the script to see specific descriptions of these environments that we might need to recreate, any specific props or any specific furniture and any element that it's needed for any specific action also. And yeah, it's very similar to the architectural
Yeah, yeah,
design process. It's
yeah.
it's so uh, it's a very close relationship in between what it's architecture and when you want to achieve on a film.
So my other question, piggybacking on this comment, is is it harder to design a new set, like an existing from this world set, or harder to recreate, like create a new world, like in sci-fi and kind of like Lord of the Rings and all of these, like they create a new world rather than creating a set with an existing context from history, from today's world. Which one is harder in design, not in the process of making, but the design process, in your opinion?
Hmm. Um, you know, how I can answer this. A show like Lord of the Rings, a show like maybe Black Panther, or nowadays Star Wars shows, use a lot of digital media and CGI and and AR to create these worlds. And for me, that's a layer that I don't necessarily work directly with in terms of design process, because there's a specific people and companies that do this type of digital worlds, and it's not the same as having some plans, construction drawings, and a guide to build physically this world. Obviously, there's always something that has to be built, so you can have layers on this digital world that you might have as a backdrop of you can have a backdrop of a lot of screens depicting this virtual world, but you need something constructed and built so you can have those layers and yeah.
Cool.
I do
We
have a
time for
comment.
one more question. Okay.
Me,
We had
yes.
Christina waiting for a
So
question.
I've known Natty since 2004, and in 2009 we moved together to Georgia to go to Savannah College of Art and Design. And you know, at that time there were like 7 Puerto Ricans that went to SCAD at the same time. So 5 of us, I think there were 5 of us. We were living in this house. It was a 3-story house, and I must say that Natty, besides being a wonderful set director, art director, she's a wonderful chef as well. I remember I used to sleep in the attic, and all of a sudden this amazing smell would, come up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then I would go down and I can see Natty doing this amazing dish. And she would cook for everybody at the house. So that was a wonderful thing to do. So Natty, but I do have one question. Would you ever consider moving out from Puerto Rico to somewhere else to continue pursuing this dream of yours?
Oh, definitely. That's something that I definitely would love to have the opportunity to do. Um, eh, I I am very grateful for all the work that I can do here in the island, because we are a few people here that do what I do. So when there is a show coming in, I will always, I know I will always have the opportunity to work on it, and and I'll get the job. But definitely I would love to be able to work on a project outside the island, because I want to expose myself to a other people that work in the industry. I know the people that I work with since I was a kid. I work with people that when I was a kid doing my homework on set, work with my mom, and I work with my mom, and we have created such a great team in the art department. We trust each other, we respect each other, we know how all of us work, and how and we know that we're gonna deliver great stuff. But definitely exposing myself to new people and these production designers, it's something that I would love to do. And definitely I can actually maybe live here, but spend 3 months outside the island doing a show and then come back. So I have that opportunity. I just need to get the, I don't know, someone to call me and ask me if I want to work on a show outside the island. But yeah, I feel that I'm closer to that opportunity, really, really, because The two people that I've worked the most here in the island, a local production designer and a local supervising art director, they are already working outside the island. They travel, and they've been wanting to get me with them, but opportunity hasn't come yet. But it's close, I know.
Rodrigo, you're on mute.
Yeah, because there was a car passing by, an annoying car with the klaxons. I muted myself and I forgot. Natalia, thank you very much for your time. It's been wonderful having you. It's been a great conversation.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Yeah, being part of these Moya talks. It's been a great experience. Thank you. And I'm looking at all the comments here. Sorry, I didn't see them before. But yes, imagine being a set designer for a Game of Thrones or Blade Runner. Yes. Dream jobs other than Wes Anderson, dream jobs.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much,
much,
Natalie.
Natalia. And
Thank
thank
you,
you,
guys.
everyone. See you next
Thank
week.
you, Natalia.
Thank you.
Bye.